Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of Real Talk with Ben podcast here, and I have another guest. It's crazy, like two episodes ago, I can't speak. I had a guest, which was my dad. It's pretty cool. This week I have a very special guest, one of my longest friends. Is going to be on actually for this episode and next episode. So Tuesday's episode, which is today's episode, and then Thursday's episode. So really good. And also, sorry if I sound like I have something in my head. It's because I just sinuses, craziness. Anyways, super excited. What is your name, sir?
My name is Jordan.
Jordan, yes. I have known Jordan. How long have I known you, Jordan?
A long time.
A long time. I have known you since, almost since we were in nursery.
Ooh.
I mean, really, since we were in the nursery, which would have been, I'm 23, almost 24. That's like 19 years, 20 years, something like that.
We were fine.
Craziness.
Yeah.
But yeah, so tell us, actually, we'll start with this. Tell us what it was like, what it's been like to be growing up with me. What has it been like?
Growing up?
Yeah, growing up.
A trip would probably be the best word to describe it. Ooh.
There you go. You can fix it.
Shout out Joe Rogan.
Yeah, I know, right?
No, it's been really, really awesome. I mean, Ben's been a great guy ever since the beginning. He's always been there. Something really awesome about Ben is he makes such a valiant effort to stay in touch, and it's really amazing. One of my best friends since, like he said, 5.
Yes, we were like 5 or 4 or 5, something like that. Ridiculous.
As he's mentioned, actually, in past episode, he's from West Liberty, which, if you know anything about West Liberty, if anybody from the surrounding areas knows anything about West Liberty, it's a very close-knit worth of people. And so what's really awesome, like I said, about Ben is that he stays so well in touch with the friends in the friend group. So we got this really tight bond between us and our friends. Yeah. And he'll have some of our other friends on the podcast definitely. As well. So you'll definitely be able to see that. Yeah,
and it's really cool. Also, just a little fun fact too. This is the first episode that will be going live on YouTube when the podcast goes live. So normally my podcasts start at 8 a.m. on Tuesday, Thursday. They'll go live onto Spotify and now Apple Podcasts, and as well as Anchor as well. So they all go at 8 a.m. Well, now you could probably be telling if you follow me on YouTube, you know that there's been episodes popping up. But now, starting with this episode and carrying on, is that new episodes will be coming up every Tuesday and Thursday. New episodes will be dropping. And if you want to find that YouTube page, it's go to youtube.com, search in the search bar, The Bowden Experience, and you'll have all of not only my podcast, but my brother and I have a podcast, The Bros Know. You can go check that out on there as well. Full episodes, super cool. Anyways, that was like a little side note, but back to it.
I thought it was great.
Thank you. Appreciate it. So I've known Jordan for a very long time. We have
literally
grown up
together.
Yes, we've
sweated together.
I mean, I remember. So our group that we grew up with, we called the Squad. Actually, I named it. I don't think any of them liked the name.
It showed up absolutely out of nowhere.
No one liked the name, but I just called it the Squad.
I mean, I was fine with it.
Well, you were fine with it. The other two weren't. But no. So our other two friends, Evan and Elijah, we all grew up together. I mean, we were in the nursery together. We grew up through church together, youth group together, birthday parties, you name it. And it was super fun, especially because we all went to different schools. So none of us went to school together, which is kind of crazy.
It is crazy, really, to think about it.
We went to the same church, but we were all in different school districts. Elijah went to Calvary, our church's school, and then he went to Bell Fountain. Evan went to Riverside. Then I went to West Liberty, and you went to Indian Lake. So we were completely on different spectrums when it came to school time. So we had different friends then, but I think we were always wanting to be together. It was something that to get away from our drama or things that were going on in our own lives, we would always find time to spend together.
And that's the cool thing about youth group and then growing up with that ability is it brought us together every Wednesday. It brought us together every Sunday, and it was just really nice. I mean, think how many times do you think that I would come across the church over to your pew and be like, yo, you got anything going on after church?
Yeah.
And have to cancel plans because Jordan wants to come over.
We would do that. Or even I remember even Bible school.
Oh, yeah.
Like growing up with Bible school, as growing up, you always wanted to Bible school in the summer. And I remember there was a lot. I actually got in trouble once for having friends over because I didn't tell my mom I wanted to have friends over. And then I just told my friends that I wanted them to come over. And then my mom kind of got upset. That's a long story, but that was a fun story. But then I do remember, and you'll know what I'm about to say this. One of my favorite memories of us four being together was when we were at Elijah's birthday party. Which Elijah,
we always had
a birthday party. It was always camp out in his backyard, so it wasn't really camping out. But it was every birthday, pretty much, up until probably his, like, in the high school. Then we went and did other things. But I remember we were all sleeping there, and I don't do well with things that are terrifying. I just don't. I'm just, like, I grew up on the farm, like, helping on the farm and doing things like that. But still, I can't handle, like, the scary movies, that sort of thing. His dad, Mark, who is one of the nicest people you'll ever meet, a great man. He came over, and we didn't know this. Like, even Elijah didn't know this, which shows you how much his dad is sinister at times. He got a chainsaw and revved the crap out of that right outside our tent. And I remember I was terrified. And then I remember we didn't really, we were almost in shock. Like, we didn't move. We were just like, and like, I don't think Elijah even knew that it was his dad. And I remember we went in that morning and his dad was just laughing his butt off. Yeah. And, that's one of my favorite moments.
We kind of, to add to that story, if I remember correctly, at the time I had my PlayStation 2.
Yes.
And we literally ran like 3 extension cords.
We did.
End on end, all the way out to this tent.
Hook up a TV.
To hook up a TV and a PlayStation.
Oh my goodness.
And we were up gaming. I believe that's when the chainsaw stuff happened. He come running out there.
We would watch like movies because we're Star Wars geeks. You could find that out on my brother and my brothers and mine podcast, whatever that language, English, whatever. You hear about, we talk about Star Wars for an episode. So we would watch Star Wars episodes. We'd watch different things out there. So since that moment, I remember the next few times we would legit, like, we would not, like, I hated going out there. I was like, dude, he's going to freaking scare us. And he never did, though.
No, he never did it again.
He never did it again, which made it more terrifying because I think that was more fun for him.
Because he knew that we would be sitting there waiting for this to happen again, and it never did.
Remember, was it in high school? It might have been freshman year of high school. I can't quite remember. Memory's not that great. But you remember the drunk people that were on the field below us? Do you remember that? I don't know if you remember that. When they were drunk and they're singing late at night and the beer bottles were getting broken.
The people with the sheep.
Yes, and we went across. I remember, it was Elijah. He had to go take a pee, because you're out in the nature. You just go take a pee outside. And I remember he came back and was like, hey, there's people down there. And we're like, I didn't go because I'm a scaredy cat. And I just stay in the tent. I'm like, I'm staying here. I'm safe. Y'all can die. And that's what I did. I remember just staying there like, y'all, not doing that. But I think we share these stories because it's funny because, like Jordan said, we all went different directions. Even after high school, Evan and Elijah went to
just farther distances.
Yeah, farther distance, really. I mean, not different directions, but Evan was a year older, in grade wise, and so he went to Liberty first. Then Elijah followed him, went to Liberty. I went to Cedarville, and then Jordan decided to work, and so. I mean, you think about it. I mean, that's in Virginia. So them two, it was really hard for them to get back for stuff. And I remember, I think it was their senior year. I remember telling all of you guys that I wanted to keep this going. I wanted to, I wanted somehow for us to stay together, and to work it out. And I remember I was the one, I think some of the other guys were kind of hesitant about it, but I remember I was talking about how I wanted to kind of keep the summer thing alive because we'd always meet every summer. Like once a summer we'd meet. Mm-hmm. And I remember the first year I was in college, we went to see Star Wars together because Force Awakens came out. So we went and saw that together. And then we went this summer. And then that's when it got hard, didn't it? It was kind of like when things fizzled out. And it wasn't that we didn't want to see each other. I truly still believe that it wasn't. I think it was just our lives were different. We were hitting different parts.
Yeah, lives, we start going different directions.
Yeah.
For me, work got busier. I was working, an hour away from here. And it's just like, it got really hard. And then when the different times we all come back, like I remember times where Ben would come back and then you'd have to try to work that out to where you,
because I was only here for 4 days.
For like 4 days or so. And then Evan and then Elijah would come back, and then it would be just different times. You're like, summer break is different school to school to school.
Yeah.
So it makes it really difficult as far as to get that all set up and organized, especially when you have a really tight schedule.
Yeah. And it was tough. I think it kind of hit me hardest because I was like, I'm one, and as you guys know from listening and watching, is even from my YouTube videos, I'm a guy that has a big heart, and I just want people
Facts.
I just want people to be happy. And not in like a greedy way. I just want people to understand like the love that I have for them and the caringness that I have for them. And so that was really on my heart when I left for college, and I always made it a point. And I remember telling him vividly, I remember before I left, I said, I want to still help you out. I'm here for you. And I legit, every time I've come home, I've always tried to find time. And it's been hard at times, like when I've been really busy, but I always knew like I had to go see Jordan. I remember my mom even was like, hey, make sure you go see Jordan. And it was good because, like I said, he's one of my longest friends and oldest friends. And so,
it also shows how awesome your mom is.
Yeah, that's true. My mom is amazing.
Let's take a second to admire that.
Yeah, because it shows what effect that it had on her, and because a lot of my friends really become her like other sons. They really become part of the family.
Yeah, she knows what's going on, with you, and she knows that affects you in a way.
Yeah, and so I think one of the biggest things for us as a friend group was, I think it's been hard. I think lately too. I think in the last couple of years, because we've all, like Evan was finishing school, I was finishing school, Elijah was switching schools. He's out in Iowa now, and it gets hard. But I think what kept me motivated was just, honestly, it was kind of like what my pastor talked about in church, was the idea of loving one another no matter the circumstance. And I think with Jordan, we've always just had a connection, and I think, and I think that even goes into what I wanted to talk about next, was like me leaving to become a missionary. Like, it's really hard, and people think that what I'm going to do is super easy and super fun, and like, yeah, it is fun. It's hard to leave and to go to another country, have a new address, to have a new life in a sense, and to really leave your family. Like, I mean, these guys are family to me, my family. And so I know that's affected us both in different ways. I know for me, it's affected me in the sense that the promise that I kept with each one of these guys, it's harder to keep now. And so that's been really tough for me. And I don't know about you, but I remember when I told him, he was kind of like, oh, and I remember that it was that conversation. It was a tough conversation for me. I remember like driving over there, like, oh, I don't want to make this conversation.
Well, and like you said, driving over there, this is how awesome of a friend Ben is. When it was huge news, obviously, to me when I got this, but he texted me and said, hey, yo, do you got a second? Can I meet you like at your house? Like, I mean, who else would be like, hey, can I like come over to your house, to give you this news? Other people would be like, yeah, I'm leaving. See ya.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that really shows his character and, how awesome a friend he's been, like I said, since the beginning. To take that time out to actually come over and face to face give me that news. People have breakups over the phone. I mean,
yeah, been there. Yeah, and I think it's been hard because you're not the only one I've had to do that with, and those are hard conversations. Like, it's joyful, and we both celebrate in it. We both celebrate what God's doing in our lives. The fact that I'm going to become a missionary is something that he knows I've dreamed about for the last few years and have talked about, and he knows I've mentioned it. And I think times he's like, I don't know if it'll ever happen, but it's cool to see how the way he accepted it, and I tell people this all the time, and I challenge you as well, is that whenever someone is making a big decision, don't be that friend that is not welcoming it. Because you don't realize how hard it is for that person.
Right. It's not you that's going through it. It's them.
And so for me, it was super hard to go in and tell him and his family, like, hey, I want to become a missionary. I'm moving overseas at some point here in the near future. And And I remember it was hard, but to hear his receptiveness and his encouragement, I know at first it was kind of a shock and kind of like, oh, wow. And it was the same with my family. It was the same with my other close family members. But to just have a friend that's willing to say like, hey, I'm just proud of you. Like, I'm proud of what God's doing with you. And, but again, I think the hardest part for both of us was the fact that we're going to be on separate ends of the earth. It really, and for who knows how long.
I'm waking up and you're going to bed.
Exactly. And so it's one of those things where I think when we, I remember when I was in that conversation with him, you know, I remember as soon as after I told you, we just started talking about memories we had. And like, I think that was what was so cool. It wasn't, oh, Debbie Downer moment. It was like, hey, let's talk about the memories we had and what the memories we're going to make.
Right.
Because that is hard. I think I've heard news like this before too, and you don't really know how to react, but I think it helped. You know, Jordan's been through a lot too, and we've been a lot through together. And those are the harder people to tell because it does mean so much when you have someone in your life that is poured into you. I mean, 19, 20 years.
Invested is another word you can put to that. So when you have that much time and effort invested in a relationship, it's hard to just be like, all right, hey, I'm leaving and I don't know when I'm coming back. So, I mean, it makes it really difficult. But like you said, when that news come in, I have to accept it. If you're going to sit there and dwell on, oh, my friend's gone, that's how you get in a bad place with anything. If you get bad news about something and you sit there and dwell on it, that's how you get in a really bad mental state, and you just got to get past that.
And it's hard too when you're, you know, in that spot of what do you do? You know, like, I guess explain from your end, like, has it been hard because it's been so weird with our other friends because they've been out so long? Mm-hmm. What has it been like for you knowing that, because I know we've been trying to meet up a lot lately, and what has it been meaning to you to kind of, what's been going through your head, I should say, in the sense of like, wow, one of my best friends in the world is leaving. What kind of went through your mind, I guess, that process that you've had to go through in your own life?
So, well, obviously, let's be real here for a second. I kind of saw it coming.
Anybody does that knows me. Like anybody did.
If you actually sat and have a conversation with Ben, you just
know my heart.
You knew where he's at, and I saw it coming.
It was coming at one point or the other. Is what you're saying.
I knew it was coming, but when he committed to it and then come over, I kind of thought that that's what it was going to be about. And then when he told me, I mean, I accepted it. I mean, it's such an awesome thing that he had, you know, the ability to go over and do that in the past. And now commit in this level, it's really amazing. But as far as like, I'm not looking at it as, well, another one of my friend's gone, just lost another one. You know, it's not like that at all. I mean, we're a text away, Facebook message away.
Yeah.
And today's society is not like I have to ask you what your address is going to be and I'll send you a postcard every few months. It's
still could, but that's not him anyways. So.
I can't write worth a shoot anyways, so he wouldn't be able to read it.
It's true. True.
But it's really easy to stay in contact nowadays. So if you got that, there's somebody in my family that maybe some bad blood at some point, but I can't get a hold of them. Blah 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 blah. It's just excuses. It's just excuses. So ever since you told me, I never once thought, just lost another one. It's like, he's just going to do what he's been wanting to do and serve the Lord in a really amazing way.
Yeah, and it's weird, and I say that because and he knows I have some really good friends in Hungary. I mean, he knows who they are, and as much as I love that, and as much as I am excited about that, it's still hard because as much as they're like my really good friends, I mean, I've known them for 6 years. A lot of them they've been in America. You know, I spent time with them. It's still not the same though. You know, it's still not the bond that you create over 19, 20 years of life. But at the same time, it's different. It's a different part of life. But you know, like Jordan and I have talked about in the past, I think when we've always talked about when we grow up, what will it be like? And unfortunately we're here now, and
And of course, like
Yeah.
when we were kids, obviously, I mean, you can probably, agree to this. Your close group of friends at some point, either it's a sleepover, is it's hanging out at a place or on the phone. Yeah. You've said the line, "I'm going to buy a house beside you."
Yes, or
can you agree to this?
Yes, or when we have kids, we'll see each other, and our kids will get to know each other's kids.
Yeah,
and
we'll
stuff
have
like
a
that.
house right on the same block, and then kids will grow up with each other.
In our heads, we know it's not a reality.
It's not.
And I think what's been really crazy, and next episode when Jordan's on, we'll talk more about what God's been doing in his life and really what it's been crazy and as what I've got to see, which is really cool about Jordan. And, but I think even as we still talk about, how we've known each other and spent time with each other. I think the hardest thing for me in this process of life and as we go is, one thing, Jordan will never have debt like I do. But no, it's, the one thing that I've always talked about is the importance that friends are. And I want to challenge you all with that. It's very easy to, when you go to college or when you get a first job, your first place you live, to forget these friends you grew up with. Trust me, there are moments when I think all of four of us were starting to get in other friend groups, but there was just some with me that every time I would think about, or I'd look at my phone and I'd see pictures of us all together, it was hard to realize that I'm giving up on something that God had gifted me. I mean, from the moment we were young, God allowed us to be together, and and so I think that's what's so cool about this whole thing with Jordan and with the other two guys, and even some of my friends I grew up with, around church is. It never gets old to see each other. I don't think there's a day where I go, oh, dang it, I got to go see Jordan again. No, there's not. Because I think I know that he pours into me, and I hope that I do the same to him in order for us to grow further towards Christ.
Yeah, for sure.
And so I think as we kind of wrap up this episode, I kind of want to talk about Jordan just for a brief moment. What's it been like, I guess, after, maybe for those that might be struggling with where they're at in their life, what's been the importance of having a good group of friends or a good couple friends and even a good family to be around?
It adds a really good structure. So when you have a really close group of friends and it is really good foundation, like a really, really good foundation, like your family is really involved. They want to know what's going on, where you're going, how things have been, where your head's at in certain spaces. It really adds a really good level of structure. If you look at people that grew up with, a really bad upbringing, you can kind of see it. Unless you're able to take your head to a certain level to where you're able to turn certain things off, and you're able to say, hey, this is not going to affect me long term, and I'm able to just take that and yeet it out the window, and able to keep moving forward. And it really does add as a certain structure. And like I said, if you can get your head in that right spot, you'll be able to move through things that are really, really hard. So like, for an example, let's say you go over there for 10 years.
Yeah.
And I don't get to see you face to face for 10 years. That's going to stink. But mentally, I'm able to say, he's doing something that's really, really awesome, and not many people get to have the opportunity to do, and he's doing it for the right reasons. I'm able to say, hey, yes, he can go over and do that, and I'm perfectly okay with it. Yeah. It's fine. It's not a big deal. I'm mentally able to make that connection and make that switch.
Yeah, and I think I agree with Jordan. It's when you go through something tough, and specifically for me, when I lost my grandpa, 2.5 years ago or so, that was a really tough moment for me. I was at college, and yeah, I had my friends there, but I do remember coming home because I took some time off and I came home for a little bit, and I remember Jordan really like encouraged me, and like that was a very dark place, and you guys know that from my first episode, just that dark time for me. And I remember Jordan was there for me, pretty much more than any other friend really around this area or even that I grew up with. And that means a lot when you're going through something tough and you don't really know how to function. But when they remind you of the good times and they remind you of what you've done together, it kind of gives that peace and that satisfaction of like, hey, these guys this guy's been a part of my life, and this guy means the world to me.
And again, you're not dwelling.
Yeah, you're not dwelling. Not only do you have God, but then you have the blessings that God's given you, which has been Jordan in my life. And so that's been really cool.
And another thing too, I really, really want to point out, and I really want to stress this because it's very obvious in the modern time. If say, I really, really encourage everybody to not only have friends and a good solid group of friends, but to actually be a friend. Because let's say, for an example, I don't stay in contact with Ben and his grandpa passed or something tragic happens in his life, which it is.
Yeah.
And I get a hold of you, and I'm saying, hey man, you can make it through it. And then I ghost again.
It's very hard.
It's obvious that that's not a true friend, that you stay in contact. I really, really stress that. Stay in contact. And like I said, since the beginning, you've done that to a T. So it's, like I said, it's very, very obvious if someone just shows up out of nowhere.
Yeah.
You're not being a true friend.
And that means a lot because, like a lot of I really try to live my life for that one motto of living for Christ. But then my other motto is really just when you're having a bad day, smile to make someone else who's having a worse day better. Have a better day. And so that's always been my motto. And that's what I've always tried to live with these guys is, they poured a lot into me. I just try to pour what God has given me, into them. And so, it's been a good episode to get to know Jordan. I know for
Pleasure
sure
for having me on.
Yeah, I'm sure he's going to be on. I mean, obviously he's going to be on next episode. But then in the future, I'll occasionally have him come back on and we'll just talk about more stories or whatever. Real talk, that's what the show's called. So, super excited to see what God's doing in Jordan's life, and blessed to have him call him one of my best friends and, to really have grown up with him. It means the world. So, like I said, if you're tuning in for the first time, go ahead and click on, the favorite button, favorite this podcast.
It's down here.
Somewhere. It's over there somewhere.
Right.
Yeah, that on YouTube,
Right here.
yes, it's down here. So click that like button, subscribe to the Bowden Experience, which is what you're watching this on. And then over on Spotify and Apple Podcasts, go ahead and favor this podcast if you'd like to hear more of it. Again, thank you so much for listening. It means a lot. It really means a lot. That I hope you're encouraged by these conversations. Like I said, that's my goal. To encourage you with God's word, encourage you with what God's done.
I'm even encouraged.
And that is good.
It's.
And so thank you again, Jordan, for being on.
Hey, it's been a pleasure.
Thank you all for tuning in. And as always, we'll talk next time.
Subscribe.